Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. As you can see from the title of this video, this is going to be episode 4 of my Thriving in Spite of series. I've not filmed one of these videos in I think over a year, and if you haven't seen any of the other ones, basically this is my series where I talk about things that are, I think, a little bit more sensitive. These videos are more podcast style, something you could pop on and not actually be watching my face. And just kind of, yeah, getting more vulnerable and real in here. This topic, especially as you can see from the title, is quite a vulnerable one for me. I didn't know, so originally this was something I wanted to talk about, and then I kept saying like I would wait and wait and wait until it was something that didn't make me feel so bad, and I think that time is just not going to come. I'm not sure, maybe in 10 years it would, but I was talking to Corey about it the other day, and he once said that like I'm not obligated to share, which I think is very much true. Like I'm not obligated to share, but also that it might be something that just makes me feel sad always, and I think that's okay. I think before I had kind of some shame around that. Anyway, I feel like I haven't even said, but this is going to be me talking about having multiple miscarriages. I had 2 miscarriages in 2020. It has been a while now because I'm filming this in December 2023, and the reason I'm now deciding to share is because I just, for the past probably like 6 months especially, I just kept getting things that I took as little signs, and I'm saying I took because I feel like you can kind of maneuver anything in your mind anyway. I took as signs that sharing what I went through in my experience would be helpful. And it started to feel like I was, I don't know, it was giving like Jonah the whale in the Bible, like when God is like, go to Nineveh or however you say it and talk to these people, and he's like, no, I'm not going to, and then the whale eats him. It started to feel like that vibe, and I don't want anything to happen to me. And then also if sharing my experience can help even one person, that makes it worth it for me. I know when I was going through this, how much I was doing research, reading books and things, and how much that helped me. So I don't know, I feel like it's almost only fair. And yeah, the time has just come. I am going to be talking about obviously quite a sensitive topic, miscarriages. If you are going through a miscarriage right now, this video could be helpful to you, but it could also be sad for you because if you've seen from this channel, I do have 2 babies, so I went through the miscarriages, and I had my rainbow babies. I think technically every baby you have after miscarriages, they're rainbow babies, but Jude especially is my rainbow baby. And I know that when a miscarriage is fresh and you watch someone have a baby, that can be can be hurtful. So if you're in that space, I say just go ahead and turn off the video. You don't need to watch it. But I also know that it can be hopeful, that if you're going through that experience, that it doesn't mean that that's going to be the only thing you experience. You can't have your rainbow baby. I had my rainbow babies. I'm already gonna cry. I'm gonna cry in this video also, I'll tell you that. And what was I even saying? Yes, I was saying the triggers for this. It is going to be probably a pretty heavy video, and I think that's also another reason I was hesitant to share, because I feel like the overall vibe of my channel is more happy, and I do try and share more happier things because like that's what I go to YouTube for. Like I don't really watch, I try to in general consume media that's more on the happier end because I'm already just such an emotional person and struggle with depression and anxiety. I feel like I don't need to also be consuming things that already add to that. So I try also not to add to that, but I don't want to be fake. And I'm just rambling now. Anyway, so in this video, I'm gonna be talking about my experience. I'm going to be talking about things that helped me, because obviously I want this video to be helpful. I'm gonna talk about things that I think if you know a friend or anyone in your life that's going through this, things you should say or can comfort them through. I'm gonna also probably touch on things that I wouldn't recommend saying, or that probably wouldn't be the most helpful, but seems to be things that people feel like they have to say. I don't know. I'm gonna also be looking at my phone because I did write some things down as far as like what I think will be helpful and things like that. And then since this is going to be more podcast style video, this is going to be a longer video. I can already see that I've been speaking for 6.5 minutes, so obviously I'm going to edit it down, but I also may not actually edit this video down that much. I'll maybe leave it as raw as possible. Anyway, so my husband and I got married, and hopping into my experience, my husband and I got married in June of 2020 at like pretty much the height of the pandemic. We had planned our wedding already before COVID hit, and then COVID hit, and I feel like when COVID hit, the whole vibe was kind of like, it's not going to last that long, it'll be 6 to 8 weeks, we'll be fine. So kind of as our wedding approached, it was like, okay, this is obviously a serious thing. We still ended up getting married, and I have never missed my period in my whole life. Since I first got my period when I was like 12, 13, I haven't missed it, at least not that I can remember. And about probably like 2 or 3 weeks after we got married, I was supposed to get my period and I didn't get it. And I remember texting my friend, because everyone knew that like as soon as we got married, we were going to try to have babies. It's just, I've always wanted babies. I wanted a baby since I was a baby. So everyone knew that. And I remember texting one of my friends and saying that like, yeah, I missed my period, but I've taken a pregnancy test and they all keep coming out negative. And she was like, it seems like you're probably pregnant. And I was like, no, the tests are negative and blah, blah, blah. But I kept testing because it was weird that my period hadn't come. And I think it was, let me see the exact date. So I was supposed to get my period before the end of June, and it never came, and I kept testing, they're all negative. And then finally I got a positive test on July 6th, and I have the picture, that's how I know. I took a picture. I had actually bought like a little cat bodysuit, which is funny because now Jude and Lev have both worn that little bodysuit, because that's how I was gonna tell Corey. But like, knowing, I should have known that the way I am, like we found out at the same time, so it wasn't like I like did a little setup and told him in secret. Like, that's just not our relationship. So July 6th, found out I was pregnant. I was just like, that's weird, because all the negative tests, it's weird. I made an appointment, and then when I went in for the appointment and they did the ultrasound, because according to, if you haven't had a baby, when you call to make your first appointment, your due date is off of your last period, so like the first day of your last period. So going back to the first day of my last period, because I never got what was supposed to come, and it's confusing. I was at my first appointment supposed to be like 8 weeks or so, but when I went in and they did the ultrasound, it looked more like I was 5 or 6 weeks. But it was weird because the first ultrasound I got, the woman didn't really say that. She was just like, oh, there's definitely a baby in there. And like, that was kind of it. And then I went in again, and that's when they're like, interesting, this seems weird. And so they referred me to a specialist. And that was basically all of July and into August, which was difficult because here I am going through this experience of being so excited I'm finally pregnant, like basically the day I've been waiting for my whole life, like just knowing I'm having a baby. And it started off like immediately rocky. I think it was probably for about a month, every week we were going into the specialist and they were doing ultrasounds. The weirdest part, and I'm sharing my experience on YouTube before sharing this experience with majority of people in my life. People in my like real life, if they're watching this, they're probably like, what the heck, I had no idea. Or maybe they did have an inkling and it was clear, but in general, most people aren't aware of this. And even if they are aware that I had miscarriages, they definitely don't know the whole story, because very, very, very few people know the full picture. Anyway, so when we first went into the specialist, they did the ultrasound and they were like, wait, it looks like there might be 2 babies. And we were like, what the heck? And then the next week we went in, they're like, actually there might be 3 babies. And I'll always remember like the look on Corey's face. He was like, I don't know why I'm like laughing and excited. I was immediately like, that is scary to have the thought of having triplets. And they were asking like, did you do fertility treatments, blah, 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 because it's like having triplets spontaneously is very, very, very rare. Twins is actually even rare spontaneously, but triplets especially very rare. I was like, no, I did nothing. And then the week after that, they were looking at the ultrasound, so like, okay, actually it looks like the 2 likely aren't going to live. Like there's one that's very clearly growing and the other 2 like aren't, and so we're gonna keep monitoring you. And so in my head I kind of already had accepted that the two were not going to live and it was just the one, and that's kind of what I focused on. And then eventually it came to the point where one week they're like, okay, if next week you come in and there's no progression, because I explained to the specialist when I went to the doctor, I tried to explain to them that I actually don't think I'm as far along as they're saying, because I kept getting negative tests and then got a positive. But what had actually happened is the reason the tests were negative for so long is because the pregnancy test, the way pregnancy tests work is that they sense the HCG in your levels. So what had happened is that the HCG levels weren't rising quick enough. And so that's why when I should have gotten a positive pregnancy test, they were coming out negative. And then like eventually way later, I got the positive. So yeah, it came to the point that the specialist, like, if you come back next week and there's not growth, we will know that you're going to miscarry. So that whole week, like, it was already kind of somber, but I still definitely had hope. It was just, I remember so if you don't know, I was an attorney before becoming a stay-at-home mom, and I did like a talk with other Black, actually I think it was just fully people of color, women that wanted to be an attorney, like they're in law school, I think. They're either in law school or wanting to go into law school, and I did a little talk with them. They were asking questions, and one of the women was like, how do you balance like school, work, personal life, and all this? And someone else answered, and they're like, you can't do everything at the same time. They're saying that how like they finished school first and worked for a bit before getting a house and got married and stuff. And actually at the time, we were buying this house, which was also we were keeping to ourselves. So it was funny, I remember driving to visit the house, and in the car I was like, oh yeah, she said you can't do everything at the same time, but we just got married, we're buying a house, and we're having a baby. And so I still kind of had that hopeful feeling. And then that week when we went, the specialist was like, yeah, the baby's not growing, and his, I don't think it was his nurse, I think maybe it was a midwife, I think she could just really tell. She was probably, I interacted with her very little, but she could definitely tell how sad I was, because as soon as he said that, like, yeah, like it's just not gonna progress, I immediately started crying. I just wanted to go to the car, I wanted to be by myself. And I remember just on the drive home, just being, it's hard because for me, the best way I think I can explain it is, obviously I don't equate my babies to money, but I am very aware that not everyone wants kids. So just think about someone like handing you like $100 million or something like that, and being so excited, and then being like, just kidding, like, and snatching it back. It was just very, very heartbreaking. And I still remember like looking things up, like, because basically what they told me is that you're going to miscarry soon. And I remember like even through the tears, like looking at things in the drive home, like how many people like are told that, but then their baby's fine, like kind of just still trying to find the hope and thinking that nothing like this would happen to me. Basically like my biggest fear, something that like I've seen, realized on mostly TV, and just been like even heartbroken for like fictional characters. And so I just had that hope, and I did eventually end up miscarrying. I elected to not do a D&C because I researched it, and they said that like it could sometimes leave uterine scarring, which I didn't want to deal with. And so about probably a week and a half after that appointment, I started miscarrying, which is obviously very emotional, but it was also very physically painful, more painful than I was ever anticipating. When I explained it, it was basically like I was in labor, because even though, so technically I was pregnant with 3 babies, and so all 3 babies had to come out. And so for like 2-3 days I was just contracting, blood would come out. I don't want to go into the graphics and make it very terrible, but it was the most pain I've ever experienced by far for such a long time. I'd say emotional pain I cannot handle very well at all, clearly, but physical pain, I do feel like I actually have a higher physical pain tolerance. Like I can get any type of shot at the doctor and they don't hurt. Like I a little bit like them, if that probably sounds weird, but I've never been in this much pain, to the point that after, I think it was almost 3 days, I was like, okay, we need to go to the emergency room. I need some kind of like higher pain medicine because I was just taking like anything over the counter. We go to the emergency room. They were also very insensitive. I feel like some doctors can be so insensitive and then some are so special, but it's so hard to find the special ones. So we went to the emergency room. I asked for pain meds. They're like, oh, sorry, we can't. Like they gave me some there and then I asked for some to like take home. So when the pain came back, like I wouldn't be going through that, and they're like, yeah, we can't, I'm sorry. And so then I had like that anxiety of like, okay, eventually the pain's gonna come back because I don't have anything. Anyway, I eventually got on the pain meds. I went to the doctor and kind of spoke to them about everything. They continue to monitor my HCG level because they do want to make sure it comes down, because if it doesn't come down, that means you still have some of the tissue left in your body. So when I went to the doctor, they were like, yeah, you can try again, probably wait like at least a month and then try again. So that's what we did. I ended up miscarrying. It was, yeah, late August. So I was about, it's confusing because we don't know for sure, but probably like 8-9 weeks. And then took September off, didn't try, and then we tried again in October and I ended up getting pregnant again. And it was very exciting. I was still sad, obviously, from the experience, but it was happy to get pregnant again because that's what we both wanted. And it was just, I guess, like, I don't know if I didn't expect it to happen again quickly, but it was obviously something still exciting. Got pregnant again, and then unfortunately, I remember very well, I can still picture it, and what makes me sad is that sometimes like I get like the flashback in my head because it was the bathroom in our bedroom, our ensuite bathroom, and I went to the bathroom and I saw blood, and immediately the thing I just said like, why does this keep happening? Because I was immediately trying to understand, but at the end of the day there was an explanation, and I think that is something that's really taught me something in life overall. Like, it's not our job to understand everything that happens, but that is something that's very still difficult for me, especially as someone that likes to control things and is very like type A and likes order. So yes, I ended up miscarrying again around like 6-ish weeks, and that's when I so after the first miscarriage I was sad, very sad. Definitely had a like depressive episode, and when it actually happened, definitely had a lot of suicidal thoughts. And I know that probably sounds, you know what, let me not gaslight myself, but I'm sure some people are like, that sounds so extreme. And I remember when I was going through it, I felt like the people that did know almost thought like I was doing too much. Like, why are you upset? Like, it was earlier on miscarriage, and then especially when I got pregnant again so quickly, I kind of got that same feeling like, oh, like I felt like other people felt like I didn't deserve to be upset because people quote unquote go through a lot worse, which is very true, 100% true. But I remember one of the people that did know, and I explained that to them, that's how I felt, and they're like, you know what, I have a friend that went through so many terrible things just back to back to back to back, and if I always compare myself to that friend, I would never allow myself to be sad. And the quote is, and I think most people probably know this quote, if you're drowning in 5 feet versus drowning in 50 feet, you're both still drowning. So whether or not someone's experience sounds extreme to you, I don't know. First of all, we all have different levels of what we can handle, I guess is the best way, or things hit us in different ways. So someone could have even gone through my exact experience, and if their mental space is different, maybe it wouldn't have hit them as much, maybe it would have hit them more. And it's not fair to get upset at yourself for that, and that's something I really struggled with. So after the first miscarriage, I was more sad. When it happened again, I would say there was more anger. I was just like, why is this happening to me? I honestly got angry with God. I come from a very religious upbringing, and in my head it was kind of like, I've been praying, I've been doing all this, like, why? If there is a God, why would God allow such terrible things to happen to me? When there are people that get pregnant and don't even want to be pregnant, here I am wanting to be pregnant, and this is my experience. And it really, something that's supposed to be so happy, getting pregnant, having a baby, was really clouded by that experience. So after the second miscarriage, I went to the doctor and she was like, okay, well, you had 2 back-to-back, so there are some options, you can try again. And then what we probably want to do is do some tests to make sure things are going on. One of the doctors I went to, and I didn't continue going to this practice because of what she said, she was like, well, if you're getting pregnant so quickly, it's probably you, not your, like, she was like, we can test your husband, but since you get pregnant every time you try, it's probably you, not your husband. It's just like, you could have, I understand you have to be medical and say stuff, but you could have said that in a, like, have some tact, basically. Like, you could have said that in a much better way, because I already feel terrible. I already feel like, I already felt like it was me, and it was something that I felt bad for, and then you were just like, no, yeah, you're right, it is you. Like, what do you mean? And she was like, we can put some fluid, like dye in your uterus and see, just saying all these things, and like handing me all these pamphlets that like had like infertility across the top, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. I just remember in my head being, this is not supposed to be my experience. And it was just, yeah, I can picture where I was sitting. I just remember her handing me all these pamphlets, infertility, what to do when you have infertility. And I just like, this is not supposed to be my experience. And so I got in the car, I was driving home, and the song, this is my, sorry, like, a song came on by, I think they're called Big Daddy Leave or something. And the song's like, this is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. I'm about to be out of space, and let me take a second. Yeah, that's what the song says. And I just remember just sobbing on the drive home, listening to this song. And I was just like, this is not supposed to be the way. I'm not gonna do any of these tests. I'm just going to give myself a month or 2 off, and then if it happens again, I won't explore these tests. But I feel like this was something that was just out of my control. Nothing's wrong with me, nothing's wrong with my body. I'm not saying that if you do struggle with infertility, something's wrong with your body. So I should rephrase that. I just was like, this is not the way it's supposed to be. I'm going to see. And I said, if I got pregnant again, and I talked about this with Corey, and it was a girl, middle name would be Story from the song, and that's why Jude's name is Jude Story, my Rambo baby. And obviously I got pregnant again. We took the time off, and then I got pregnant again in January of the new year. And at this time I was already in therapy. I started therapy in September after the first miscarriage. So luckily after the second I could completely talk with my therapist. But I got pregnant again, and it, as I said, it definitely clouds when you go through miscarriage. It clouds the joy around pregnancies a little bit, because you still do have that fear. Started looking up books on miscarriages, and something that I wrote down after the second one was I'm gonna read it exactly. Keep going until the pain of loss is greater than the pain of never bringing a baby home. And once I got pregnant with Jude, I obviously didn't know it was Jude, but I knew it was Jude. I would always say, especially going to the bathroom after you've had a miscarriage when you're pregnant is very, very triggering and very scary. It's like every time I went to wipe, I would say, do not be anxious about anything, but everything by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God that transcends all understanding will guide your heart and mind in Christ Jesus. And even if you're not religious, the reason that helped me was because that peace part. I feel like peace is really like the word that was my pregnancy with Jude. I look back and think of my pregnancy with Jude, and so many times I was happier than I think most people would have been or I think even than I would have pictured myself being after going through 2 miscarriages. There was just so much joy that still surrounded that pregnancy, even with the anxiety. I really do think there was peace, a peace that transcended all understanding. What I went through did not match the peace that I had, but there still definitely was anxiety around it. Obviously I had Jude, very, very special. Jude is the most special girl in the world. If you're lucky enough to meet her, you know. And then I had Lev. I've spoken about on my channel that like after I had Jude, I was like, oh, I don't know if I want any more kids. And that was partially because I loved her so much. I was like, why do I need anyone else? I did not realize that when you had additional babies, you love them just as much. And now I'm like, now I need all the babies. But I think also part of it was I was afraid of going through a miscarriage again because of how much it broke me down. I didn't want to go through that again. And I remember talking with Corey on a walk and saying like, oh, we should probably start trying sooner in case I go through another miscarriage. And so I still had that fear. Jude is my baby that taught me that good days come again, and Lev is my baby that taught me that tragedy does not always follow tragedy. So I spoke about that quote that helped me. I spoke about one of the books. I don't think I actually said the name. The book is Grace Like Scarlet, which is Grace Like Scarlet, Grieving with Hope After Miscarriage and Loss. That book helped me a lot. Some of the things that it said in there was, I think Corey's bringing Lev up. He's probably hungry. One of the things in the book that I appreciated, it's like, it's hard when you hungry boy. Yeah, one of the things in the book was saying how like it's hard when you tell someone when you're going through something hard because for whatever reason you have say, are you talking to me, mama? We as humans, we have an idea of how we want someone to react to something when we tell them something, but then we're also humans, so our reaction is not going to be perfect. And so for the people that I did tell, it was hard when I felt like they would say, some of them would say sorry and like I felt loved and stuff in the moment, but then like maybe didn't follow up, and that would hurt my feelings, but like we're all busy. That's not their job to follow up. Or one of the people that I told, I remember they had said that at the time they didn't understand why I was so upset, but then they were doing like this activity that ended up being with like a bunch of people that had gone through miscarriages and saw how much pain they're in, and then that's what made them realize how much pain I was in, which that was hurtful because it was like, why did you have to see the pain in someone else before being able to see the pain in me? But I've also realized I feel like I'm someone that I cry a lot within my home though. I think I a little bit put up a facade, like I don't want other people to see me cry because I have this idea that when people see me cry that they think like I'm weak, and emotionally I'm weak. And I think that's fine. Like we're not all meant to be these little stone people, and like weak doesn't always have to be a bad word. Another person that I told, they actually said that and I'm hesitant to share this because again, this happened in 2020, so it's been a while. I have forgiven this person for what they said, but I won't say I know the saying's forgive and forget, but sometimes you can't take back words. And I think that's something to be very cautious of. But this person in particular said that they had like a vision that if I lost weight, that I wouldn't continue having miscarriages. And that was obviously very, very, very painful. Not something I would say to anyone. Even if you think it's something that the person can change, unless they are doing something like they got pregnant and they like drink a whole like 3 bottles of wine, they can maybe say like, oh, maybe don't do that next time. But unless it's very clear, something like that, you know, even like that, I wouldn't say a word. Don't make it seem like the person's fault because you already feel at fault. I'm going to talk about some things that I think you should say. I think you should try, and the main thing I would say is just be with the person. Don't try and actively make them feel better. Don't say like, oh, you for sure are gonna get pregnant. Like, it's because as much as it's nice to say that, and I'd love to say that to everyone watching this video, I don't know. I don't have a magic ball. I'm not in charge of this universe, so I don't know. And I think I had an issue with hearing that because like I don't like empty promises. Like you're promising something you don't know for sure, even though you have good intentions. I think really, yeah, just be there for the person. Check up on the person. Don't just say sorry once or twice, but check up probably for like, oh, you're done with milk? I would say check up often for the first like 2 weeks. And even if they don't respond, or like don't put pressure on them to respond, you can just be like, oh, I just was thinking of you. You don't have to say like, yeah, I remember your miscarriage. Like, don't even, because maybe that day they haven't thought about it. But I would just say like, just thinking of you, no pressure to respond. Just kind of, yeah, just showing that you're there and willing to talk. If you are the person that is actually going through a miscarriage, I would say try and let go of that, like crafting a response that you want people to have when you tell them. Because I think, yeah, most of the time people are going to let you down when you craft like a specific response and that's not what you get. Which sound, when I say it out loud, that sounds so sad, but it's just the reality of it. Like, we're all human, we all think something different. Someone might be saying something to you that to them would be comforting, but to you it's not, and then having the best intentions in the world and then ended up still hurting you. And I think that is a little bit what happened to me. Oh, another thing, just in general, be aware of what you're saying to people, because again, as I said, majority of people in my life have no idea that this was our experience. One of the other reasons I want to share this video right now is that I know that the holiday season is supposed to be cheery and happy, but a lot of people have sad memories around the holidays. So like the second miscarriage was very close to Thanksgiving that year. I remember during Christmas of 2020, at the time, no one knew. And then I think it was like Corey that made some kind of joke, and then someone said like, oh, that's why you can't have kids. And I remember just telling myself, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. And as soon as we were in front of that person, I just cried so much. And it's just like, be aware of the words that come out of your mouth. Be aware that you have no way, and that's hard. Like, you don't have to be a perfect person and walk around and just be like, I don't know. It's, what's it called, a double-edged sword, because you should be free to talk and like joke. I'm not saying like, I don't know. Just be aware of what you say. Be aware of who you're asking. Oh, do you want kids? Or, oh, like, how's it? Like, things like that. Because you just really never know. We all have our slip-ups. I actually even just last Friday feel like I said something inappropriate to someone and realized after the fact. This video is long. I think that's everything I wanted to say. And I can hear, you got to spit up. I can hear Corey getting Jude up, because it is almost 4 o'clock and she's happy. Thought about doing this video with Corey because obviously he went through this too. And one of the, oh, sorry, Liv. At the time, one of the hardest things was seeing me in physical pain. I mean, I'm sure his experience would be helpful to other people. So if I get like some messages, and obviously if Corey is comfortable sharing his experience, maybe I'll do like a part 2 to this video. I was hesitant to share this video, but I do actually feel happy that I filmed it. Once I edit it and get it all together, we'll see how I feel. We'll see how I feel. Maybe I'll just be like, no, I'm not posting it. But I think I just get this feeling that someone needs to see this video and hear my experience for some reason. And that could be completely me being delulu and just in my head, but I just have that feeling and I want to honor that feeling. And now I'm gonna go hang out with Corey and my so special babies. Maybe I'll do a better job at keeping up with these series, because every single video in this series, I've gotten multiple messages or comments from people being like, oh, I'm so happy, like you talked about that. So I want to do more of them, but they are heavy and I am a very emotional person. So things kind of like come over me for a while. With your pillow. Thank you so much for watching. Hope this video was helpful and I hope you enjoy hanging out with me. Bye. Can you say bye? Bye.